Okay, so let's dig into a story that's pretty wild. We're talking about Jack's Donuts, an Indiana institution that's been around for 64 years. Generations grew up on their fresh, handcrafted pastries. But then, boom, the company files for bankruptcy. It leaves everyone, from loyal customers to the people who own the shops, just asking, how did this happen? Well, we're about to find out.
Right? That's the big question here. I mean, this wasn't some slow, sad decline. This was a free fall, a rapid and just spectacular collapse. So we're going to peel back the layers, look at the legal docs, see what the franchisees were saying, and really figure out the decisions that brought this beloved brand right to its knees. And this quote is really where it all begins. Can you even imagine? This came from the actual franchisees, the people who poured their lives into these shops. And that one single brutal comparison, a gas station donut, it just cuts right to the heart of the problem. It tells you everything you need to know about what went wrong. So let's get the hard facts on the table. October 30th, 2025. The main corporate entity behind Jack's Donuts officially files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This wasn't just a rumor swirling around anymore. This was a formal, legal admission that the company was broke. It just couldn't pay its bills. And when we say they couldn't pay their bills, the numbers are just mind-blowing. The court filings showed that the company owed more than $20 million. Just try to wrap your head around that. That is a massive, massive hole to be in. Now here's the other side of that. If you owe $20 million, what do you have to cover it? Well, in their case, less than $1.6 million in assets. This isn't just a business having a tough quarter. No, this is a full-blown, catastrophic financial meltdown. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look at that. On one side, you have this skyscraper of debt, over $20 million. And on the other, this tiny little sliver of assets. You're looking at a debt-to-asset ratio of almost 12-1. For every single dollar they had, they owed 12. That's not just unsustainable, it's a complete disaster. And what's really fascinating here is you can see exactly where the problem started. Just look at that first column. The Jack's Commissary LLC, that's the big central production facility. It was responsible for over $14 million of that debt all by itself. This table basically puts a giant red arrow on the source of the failure. So this brings us from the what to the why. A company doesn't just stumble into a 12-1 debt ratio by accident, you know? This was the direct result of a very specific strategic decision, a single pivot that turned out to be the company's one fatal mistake. And here it is, the whole story in 2 columns. On the left, that's the Jack's Donuts everyone knew and loved, fresh, handcrafted donuts made right there in the store. On the right, that's the new Commissary model they rolled out in October 2023. Corporate forced every store to stop baking and buy pre-made, shipped donuts from one factory. They basically traded quality for control, and it backfired in the worst way possible. And this timeline shows you just how fast everything went south after that Commissary opened. I mean, it's stunning. By January 2025, franchisees were in open revolt. A month later, their own bank is suing them for millions. Then, the CEO gets cited for securities violations. And by October 2025, just 2 years after that one decision, the whole thing is in bankruptcy court. It's a textbook case of cause and effect. And the franchisees, well, they did not hold back. They officially demanded the CEO resign, and they made some really serious accusations. We're talking ongoing mismanagement, troubling financial moves, even misappropriating company funds and creating shell companies for personal gain. You know, these aren't just little disagreements. These are accusations of major corporate malpractice. So you can see the damage went way beyond just the money. The brand itself, the name Jack's Donuts, it became toxic, a liability. And here's the ultimate proof. One franchisee got so desperate, they actually rebranded their store as Boomtown Donuts, just to get away from the name. When your own partners are running from your brand, you know you're in freefall. So what now? Well, the company filed under a special part of the law called Chapter 11, Subchapter V. Think of it as a faster, cheaper bankruptcy process designed for small businesses. But here's the real kicker. It's designed to give the current owners, yep, the same people being blamed for this whole mess, a way to stay in control of the company. It's a lifeline.
But that lifeline comes with a ton of pressure. The law puts them on a super aggressive timeline. They have just 90 days, 90, from the day they filed to come up with a complete, believable plan to turn everything around. In 90 days, they have to fix this massive financial crisis and somehow win back the trust of everyone they've alienated. The clock is absolutely ticking. And this is where the story has its final kind of ironic twist. See, the bankruptcy only covers the corporate company, the franchisor. Those 14 independent donut shops, they're not part of it. And many of them are still doing just fine, baking donuts the old way. But here's the thing. Without the royalty payments from those franchisees, the corporate entity has zero income. So the very people they alienated are now the only thing keeping them afloat. Which really brings us to this one last question. The company's only real asset at this point is the brand name. But after the people in charge gutted the very quality that made that name mean something, and after they pushed away the partners they desperately need for any kind of recovery, what's really left? Can you actually rebuild a brand after you've sold its soul? That's what the court and the customers are about to decide.